Okay, coming to you live. Right, guys, I want to introduce you to two of the leading ladies in Irish small retail shops that I absolutely adore. This is Laura from Indie Foodie in Belfast, and this is Roisin from, I'm going to say it, I always call it the Post Office Inventory, but it has an Irish name. Can you please pronounce it for me?
Siúpa Luing.
There we go. With the New Zealand accent, that's quite tricky to say. So, ladies, you have a cult status with your shops. Like, I absolutely adore them. I'm going to just go straight into the nitty gritty here because it is all about cracking the code and getting into retail. How important is branding and graphic design when a small producer like John and Mary walks in off the street to try and sell you their product?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely crucial, especially now. Obviously, the market is expanding all the time in terms of, I think, just bringing that focus on a small producer. So, which is amazing. It's a great thing. But I think I personally am a real sucker for packaging. I love really good packaging. I think to highlight what exactly the key features of your product are, which is very much common sense, but sometimes can be maybe slightly overlooked. So yeah, I think it's absolutely very important. Yeah.
And Laura, how do you find, like, with the packaging and graphic design and stuff of something something like a small, can, for example, and stuff like that? How important is social media when it comes to selling a product? Because I know, like, we learn loads of what you post of, like, new products. So, like, as a restaurateur, I'm, like, always, like, robbing off your pages because I see all these little people.
Yeah, it's quite important. It is important, I think, to have a consistent brand where, and I think people maybe overlook that when they first come to the market, is and they sort of bring something out and they love it. The product could be really, really great. But then if you keep sort of changing the brand or changing your graphics and stuff, it can be quite hard then for people to recognize it, even if they really loved it. And that sort of goes through to your social media and having a consistent message. And for, like, us, obviously keeping lots of Irish produce, it's really important for you guys to shout about that and stay sort of true to that you're Irish. Don't try not to kind of change what your messaging is. You're Irish, you're local, you're sustainable. If that's your thing, always talk about it. Don't be like, this, green energy is important this year. I'm going to write something on here, or I'm going to sort of change my packaging. Obviously, change it as you can to something more sustainable. That's what we all want. But try and get that message in quite early. It's good to have a ready product, which can be pricey, can be stressful, like trying to come down with that. But it is a good idea to have something that, you can see on a shop shelf kind of before you come in. Or at the very, very other end. Sometimes it's nice to have people come in who haven't done any packaging yet and they're looking for a wee bit of advice, and you can talk to them about what might work. But if they're kind of in that middle ground, it can be hard to give them can be hard to give you sort of direction because you've sort of decided on something. But it is, as you say, it's a really saturated market. So your branding and your social media and things, they bring the sales back, don't they? They, like, people will be like, oh yeah, I tried that, it was great. And there she is on socials, like, having a great time, making her stuff, really passionate about it. I'll pop in and grab it again.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we love to see is everybody making their products all the time.
Yeah.
Or, the struggles of real life reality of, like, I know there's Tara from Tara Garden Chocolates, but I know, the realities of stuff broken down and, like, stuff actually happening and cows breaking into goats, running into, like, people that are making goat's cheese into their parlours and stuff like that. The real life nightmare of running your own small business. What's a normal markup for a product? It's really confusing sometimes, I think, to add value to a product. I know back in the day, I was a very inconsistent small producer. I used to make jam in the west of Ireland. But, like, you get told, you should add 35% markup to that and all that. Like, how do you put value on a product if somebody's selling it to you? Because, sometimes we get caught in this cross circle where a small producer then sells to a supermarket, but you can't sell it the same price as a supermarket because the margins, they can just totally sweep you away with the margins.
It is a challenge, and I guess for us maybe it's a little bit different in one sense. I guess we are always consciously keeping an eye on supermarket prices. There is no point pricing ourselves out of that. We are near them. We are always encouraging our customers to try and support local. So I think going above anything that's overly priced, you're just going to lose that customer. So I guess we really do, I suppose, try and keep the margins on the lower end. I guess we are, like I say, when you're surrounded by them, it's like, you're not expecting to be cheaper, but you can't, for us anyway, we would lose, I think, an awful lot if we're more expensive, a lot more expensive. It's not going to work for us. So I suppose we look at what, like most suppliers have their recommended retail price.
Yeah.
So we actually never go above the recommended retail price. We're lucky, we're fortunate enough that we are in a position to do that. We've been in business for a very long time. So I guess, that stands to us. So I think it's a conversation as well. And, there is a recommended retail price, and it's totally up to, I think that's also a common maybe challenge that some people aren't maybe very used to the market or something, in terms of like, they'd say, oh, I'm telling you that this is how much the product is.
Yeah.
And I'm going, no, like the retailer has to choose. You tell me what your price is, and I will say, we're going to sell it for €10, we're going to sell it for €12, 11, 9, whatever. And I think that can be a bit of a shock to some of them. They're like, no, my product is this much.
Oh, it's $7.50. I want all that $7.50 in my pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like we're very fair, I think.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's their product, obviously. But then obviously they need your selling powers for it to work for them. And obviously that works for us as well. So I think, early on people, like I just had this, it wasn't even a food product. So it was different, and I was trying to explain to him, like the milkman doesn't say, oh, it's this much here and it's this much here. The milkman has the price, this is how much it is per litre, and it's up to each individual retailer then to make up their minds about how much they want to charge. But yeah, we're lucky, I guess, that we are, able to not charge extortionately, because I think it would do us a disservice. I guess we like to be able to bring the products at a fair price to the market.
Yeah, of course.
So, I think we can sell more if our price is fair for us. That's kind of the vision, or that's how we approach it anyway.
We have a bit more of a kind of across the board kind of approach to it. And most of our products would carry that sort of 30 to 35% markup, kind of nearly to make it fair across the board with the producers, and makes it a wee bit kind of easier for us to manage. When you have maybe 200 lines in the shops, you can't be there can't be that much chit chat for us about kind of the pricing and what we put it up for. Yeah. We always pay a fair price to the producer. We pay them what they have asked for their product. There's none of this kind of bantering back and forth trying to bring the price down.
Yeah.
But then the markup's nearly always the same. I think where that can sometimes get confusing for kind of producers is with VAT rates. So for us, a lot of products are charged at 20% VAT. And then with a lot of smaller producers, they're not registered for VAT because their kind of turnover is below that. But because they're not charging us VAT, that doesn't mean I don't have to pay VAT. So you're suddenly looking at sweet products all needing like a 50% markup on them.
Oh, huge, yeah.
Which is very different. If you're selling, you could sell it at a market stall yourself, kind of not pay your VAT, a good bit cheaper. And then it'll be looking at our shelf a good bit higher. So that can be kind of a bit awkward with some of the sweet products within the shop, trying to work out the margins that'll work, that make sense between the different places someone might be buying it.
Yeah, and do most people care about if the small producers use small and local? Because I know we can always, obviously I do food development for a supermarket. We can always make something look small and local. But people that go into your shop, are they really looking for the real deal? Like, obviously jam made down the road with no pectin in it, all that kind of stuff, all those little cheaty tricks.
I think more and more as the years go by, people are more aware of those sort of tricks as such of the trade.
Yeah.
And our customers are sort of super engaged in their food for the most part, and are quite interested. And almost more important to that is that our staff and us are really interested. And because we do have nearly 200 products on the shop shelves, if there's 40 that are super authentic, really great products, the guys have really good stories. They're really nice to us. They come in, they have a chat, they have a coffee. They tell us, I had a bloody awful day picking blackberries last week in the rain. You're more likely to then talk about that product. That'd be one that people are kind of more passionate about. So I think that is kind of I'm sure it's the same with you guys in your shop, that when you're talking to customers that makes such a
absolutely.
difference.
It does, and I think people love the story, like love the genuine. Oh, this is a two-sister business. They're down in whatever county making this. They're very ethical. Sometimes people pick up pretend to say a chocolate and be like, oh my God, it's so expensive. But it's like, yeah, but do you ever think about why your across the board general bar of chocolate is so cheap? You know what I mean? And I think educating people or just even sharing that little bit of information about them, then they'll have that in their minds and be like, you know what, I remember Roisin talking about Mary and Sean or whatever, and they made this, and I actually really care about what this, like, even if it's a gift or something, so I think having that bit of information and sharing that with customers is really important, as opposed to it just sitting on the shelf, like being able to share any extra bit of background information. It's not always people take the time to read the label about the sustainability or how ethical the beans are for making this chocolate or whatever, So I think it's definitely improving. I think that's one of the pluses with social media as well, is that people are able to reach that information and engage with it if they choose to do so.
Yeah, because you can market yourself. And it's really funny because it's like somebody told me, because I was like, oh, I need to do this and I need to do this. And somebody goes, dude, you have like 1,000 followers on your Instagram page. Just start talking to people. And, and then you can obviously get across that you have this cake to sell in Kai and blah, 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 and, sell more from that. So I think the engagement with social media is very important. I suppose, will we open up to some questions? If anyone's got any questions, especially for the girls in retail. Okay, not all at once, guys, please.
Anybody have any questions? It's a great time to chat. Yeah, great. Sorry, I thought you... Do you have any examples where, you're working with food producers? I know you gave some there, but that really stand out, that you really love the stories. Is there anyone you could talk about, or maybe not in individuals, but any examples or more when they come in and what really works for you, or how to contact you, or
I suppose being sort of aware when you come into a shop, or kind of contact via email or whatever, to kind of contact with the full package, because sometimes I'll just get like a jar in the mail and I don't know really anything about it. Like it could be delicious when I open it, but I haven't had any kind of introduction. I've not had like, oh hi, like I'm Joe, I'm making this jam, do you want me to send it up to you? This is my story. And it arrive, or even like a price list or anything, because that's all quite important, because it could be the most delicious product in the world, but it might not be suitable for my shop for whatever reason to start with, and then you're wasting your time sending it to me to begin with, and we can have that conversation first. Or that then it kind of, sometimes like we have a load of staff, it could just disappear into the back of the shop, and then 3 weeks later someone will be like, well, why haven't you got in contact with me about my product? I'm like, what product? Like I didn't know something was coming, and it will be sitting on a shelf somewhere for me, but that kind of pre-contact, even if it is just an email or a tweet or something on Instagram, just to say like, oh hi, this is me, I'm sticking something in the post, here's like the price list and what you kind of will expect from it and why it's special, and I think you should have it in your shop, I think is important.
Yeah, and I think as well, I suppose our shop is very small and we have a very small storeroom. So I think being mindful of, like, in terms of just the minimum order quantities and stuff like that, you don't want, like, we'll say in one sense, if you have to pay for the delivery charge, on top of thing, that might, for me, like, lose its attractiveness too, we'll say, just from a business point of view. But if the minimum order for free delivery is like 2 pallets, like I can't store 2 pallets of one product. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think just being a little bit maybe reasonable, or coming up with maybe an agreement around that. And like what you say, putting together the full package, definitely. This is how much it costs. This is the shelf life.
So just being organised from day dot.
Yeah.
And also when it comes to branding as well, branding's super important. I think spend whatever you do, like when I first opened my restaurant, I had no money, but I managed to scrape together enough money to get good graphic design. And I think because we're going to kick that can down the road if you get your friend's niece that you think is great painting flowers to do your brand or anything like that. You need to go to professionals, I think, as small producers, to get that really amazing, sharp look, and like spend your money wisely there, because you'll make it back up again, because like the way that a package looks sells that package. You don't, you don't even have to be there. It just looks great. But I think, a lot of people get like pushed into this. Oh, my friend's daughter's left college and she makes
definitely.
great posters for the pub down the road, and which doesn't automatically sell your 10 million cases of jam that you need to get rid of, for example, or your 10 tons of cheese.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I have an easy question about your customers, right? So, what are you noticing your customer coming in? What are they looking for? Is it changing? Because our customers today, at the previous panel, everyone's on the go. It's all a bit different now. Coming back into the work, or are we coming back to the workplace? So, what's your customer base like now, or what are they looking for?
Yeah, I guess it's funny. Like during COVID, I suppose was everybody had time, and I think the influence of social media for us personally was very evident in our sales. Like whereas now I think it's a little bit more watered down in one sense. Like it's not like we have this and then everyone's going to come in and just buy it all. Like during COVID, that kind of was what we were seeing a bit. And I suppose now with like all that's going on online and online sales, like that's where we might see a challenge for us as a small business and a small shop. And so that's for us as well, like from a price point of view, always keeping that in mind, because otherwise you are going to fall behind and lose out. So I suppose it's still hugely down to convenience, and I think it's becoming more so and back to everyone's really super busy lives again. So it has to be convenient. I think quality is absolutely key, and I think for us we're more focused on quality as opposed to just a cheap product being a cheap product. I think quality, flavour, like how ethical it is, where if you're buying meat, we sell a lot of organic meat as well, and so that would be a huge draw for our customers. So we're seeing, it's still convenient. Like they might just be organic burgers, but people actually really care about them being organic, care about them being Irish, and how that is produced as well. So I guess it is absolutely down to convenience, but I think for sure it's still about being mindful about the products being Irish, where they're coming from, how ethically they are sourced. But then we have a real mix of customers as well. And you have people coming in buying, I won't even mention a brand name, but, a curry from out of the freezer or whatever. So for us, it's a real mix. And I suppose that's the type of store we are. So that is maybe different to others. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I suppose with us, because we've always just done like the exclusively Irish produce, we haven't seen a huge change in our kind of customer base, whereas I can see the supermarkets have, because maybe they've just decided to support local. But for us, that's all we're about, and so we have kind of that. I think the sector of people who are interested has grown and changed a little
Big
bit.
time. Yeah.
But we attract those customers, so our customer base hasn't particularly changed. What they want is still the same. They're maybe a little bit more mindful, as you say, about organic and ethical and sort of, how like the impact it's having kind of around them, and want a bit more of a story. But again, that has kind of been what our thing is. So that hasn't really changed too much.
Yeah, and like you see it with a great example is Sinead from Glenbowie Farm, and she does the raw milk and she does the butter as well. And I'm always like, Sinead, can I have like 8 litres of raw milk and like 2 things of butter? And she's like, I just can't make enough. And like, it's such a high price point, and I'm like, who's buying all this? And then she's selling it from a small butcher shop outside of like a Tesco in Galway, and he was like, sure, they're queuing for it. Like he couldn't get over people queuing for raw milk.
Yeah. Yeah,
like, she's a brilliant example of somebody like that.
Yeah, and like even if you take the local milk and stuff, we can't keep that on the shelf either. And like for even from Angie for the cheese, she can't produce enough cheese to give us. Do you know? So I think definitely in the focus we sell a lot of like fruit or not fruit but organic veg, like local. So the milk and anything that's bread, anything that's real local, like even just in the peninsula, is a huge draw for us. Like, and we just feel so blessed to be able to work with these producers and showcase the very best of what's on offer. And I think people have really drawn focus to actually, maybe I can actually pick up the real milk that's coming in the glass bottle that has the the 50 cent when you bring back the empty bottle and all that. So that is definitely a shift, I think, more awareness of people's shopping habits.
But like I remember coming across your shop, and it was actually the Gastro Gays we have to mention, Patrick and Russell, because they were on social media and they were down here for Bloss, and suddenly they were in this like random post office that sold natural wine and this bougie cheese. We're like, where is that? That's wild. And so every time I come down to, well, I don't know, is it down or across, whatever, from Galway, I always go in and I always like get the organic burgers. I always get all the jams made in Dingle, the cheese, everything like that, which is so special to me that there's like one shop like that we can actually go for. And then I remember being in Belfast because I was watching a Connacht. I think Connacht were playing at Ulster at the time, and Connacht won, thank God. But we went to your shop, and David goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, so panicked because I just wanted to get everything at one time. He was like, "How much is that?" I was like, "I don't know. I didn't even look. I didn't look at it." But like, I got the most amazing produce from Northern Ireland that I didn't even know existed. And it's like, you know, like I take it for granted because I think I'm like pretty cool having 320 small producers in Kai, but you guys just take it to another level. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
We have two.
Oh, sorry.
We have a few questions, Dave.
Good morning. My name is Timmy, and it's a bit of a question for all of you. It's related to social media and retailers now. What would you expect, or would you expect from us to go in and how often to do an in-store a tasting, or would you expect us to promote our product in your store on social media? And yes, how often? You know, is it too much when I put something on once a week about your store? To my followers, you can find it there. Is there more than that, or would you expect more from us?
I guess it's personal and it's up to each individual, really. You know, I suppose if your product is newly in a store, I guess it's nice to give that recognition. But then you have to be mindful if your products are in every store, like you can't expect you to just keep talking about my store. Do you know what I mean? And then we'd have no expectation around an in-store, but like we really appreciate them. And I think it is definitely a very good way to bring attention to the product and like being able to inform people about your product if you have something specific to share about, like, you know, product in terms of if it's the free from or whatever, you know, and they're things I suppose that people are specifically looking for, you know, so you might always have had them and they didn't know that you had them, or they don't realise that they are. So I think it's up to each producer really and each supplier. But
I think the in-store tastings are really important if you do have the time to be able to prioritise them. We do find it a bit of a struggle to get producers in stores to do tastings because it is a big part of their day, and a lot of them are trying, you know, like a Saturday is a family day, or, you know, you do have to balance everything, but it makes a huge difference to ongoing sales. So we would have quite a lot of people in stores, but like Sean from Cartlow Hills Cheese is one of the best examples.
Yeah.
Because he is so wonderful. And he comes in, he's so nice, he's lovely to the staff, the customers. He comes up once a year, like it's enough. He comes from down in Carlow, so he's travelling a long way to us. But people will rebuy that cheese time and time again, and it's one of our sort of best-selling cheeses and one of our most expensive cheese. But because they know him, he's lovely, they've tried it, the staff love him, we all love him. So the product is, you know, it puts it at the forefront of people's minds. Social media, the same sort of as you, really. We love it if people tag us. Like, it's really lovely. Because we're proud to have you in the shop, and we want you guys to be proud of us, you know, looking after your products. But again, like, it doesn't have to be every day, you know, even if it's a few times a year, even seasonally or something like that, it's just really nice. It's a wee reminder. And then we share it because it can be hard to get all the products on our social media, but if somebody is tagging you, you're never going to ignore it. Like, you're always going to share it onto your story, and that'll then put it in front of our customers.
And I guess especially, like you say, seasonally, I suppose there's so much marketing, and the big, huge stores have so much spend behind their big budgets for marketing. I guess sometimes we feel like maybe we can feel a little bit left behind, so it's really nice socially to be able to be like, this is where you can find our products. And, you know, even just naming and tagging them, I think is...
Totally, and just do it naturally. Don't overthink it. I mean, people are always like, Jesus, I haven't posted on Instagram for over a year. And I'm like, man, what's the pressure? I post like loads of random shit all the time. But, you know, like, just don't overthink it. And then if you feel happy about something that you made and you drop that off to a shop and you're like, man, they were really nice in there, just drop them a post. You know, like, don't overthink it. Anyone that runs a business that you drop something into, or runs a shop or a restaurant that you drop something, they're always going to share it, because really, I think Twitter can be like an absolute mind beast, but I think the likes of Instagram is like pretty nice. It's a pretty nice, fluffy space to be, you know? So, which is where I prefer to live.
Hi, Niamh Cosgrove from the Alternative Christmas Pudding, and my question is about seasonal products, fairly obviously. When really is your timeline for looking at seasonal products, and like how far in advance do you like to be contacted? I know it's probably different for every store, but just as a general timeline.
I have to say, I get the panics when I get the Christmas brochures, and we're very busy during the summer season, so we kind of just exhale a little bit in September, and then it's like deadlines for Christmas ordering end of September. I'm like having an absolute panic, and you're nearly just going, because it's really hard, especially from a small shop point of view. Like, you just don't know what way the market is going to go. So, you know, there's some distributors, and it's like, you know, you have to have it in for that. So we just tend to do a general order, and then if it's like someone that we know, like, you know, obviously we appreciate everybody has to have their pre-orders and an idea, but it can be really hard to, you know, pinpoint exactly. Like, I don't know. I'm more of a last minuter anyway, and I like to not think too much about Christmas until like at least, let's say, November.
I'd say it maybe depends on the structure of your business, because a lot of what we would do would be Christmas hampers and stuff as well. And because we do corporate Christmas hampers, sometimes we need relatively large numbers of things.
Yeah.
So we do need to be a wee bit organised about it. We're not a supermarket. We're not talking like 2022 for 2025 here. We're thinking maybe July, August if it's a new product. So we can sort of taste it, like, you know about it a wee bit and work it into those. It really is for us about kind of the corporate ones that we need that plan for. Yeah. And then our photography for our website for kind of our retail hampers would usually be happening in September. Or October. I usually say September. It usually happens October. But we need to have those kind of, you know, nailed down kind of that little bit earlier. So it is a bit of a balance, because as you say, like,
really hard.
Christmas in March is stressful. But, you know, I nearly need a nudge, because actually earlier is that wee bit better, even though I would rather it was later, if that makes sense. So July-ish.
Yeah, exactly. But like, you know, when you look at like, I mean, supermarkets are, you know, whatever, but, you know, they spend so much money on marketing. So as soon as you see that Marks and Spencer's Christmas catalogue come out, that's when you aim at it, because they've spent thousands, probably upon thousands, studying when to release that magazine, right? So if you're smart enough, you'll go, right, you've just launched that, it's out, it's time to launch my products. So I would like lean into their marketing, learn as much as possible off them as you can, and then lean back into your own business. Yeah.
Killian O'Moore on Meskenbury. This is a kind of shitty question. Is there one thing or one category of thing that makes you interested in championing one of the things that you have on your shelves? So I'm thinking in the context that probably most small producers have had the experience where suddenly one store is selling way more of your product than you think makes sense. And whenever you investigate that, it always comes to the same thing. It always turns out that there's somebody behind the counter that really loves your stuff, and they talk to everybody about it. Now, imagine that you have 20 really nice jams, and they're all organic, and they're all harvested from the hills. What is there one thing that makes you think, no, that's the company that I'm going to talk about to our customers?
Probably the level of engagement. You know, you could have the most beautiful product, we've tasted it and loved it, and you've dropped it in, and then if I never hear from you again, I might forget about you. Like, you know, if you're not sort of, you know, the odd tag on social media, or, you know, actually not throwing the box in the front door if you're able to deliver yourself, which obviously is hard for everyone because we're in Northern Ireland. We do get a lot of things posted to us. But if that is accompanied by maybe an email a couple of days after they expect it to arrive to say, hope it arrived, everything good, is there anything you need? Even if I don't need anything, it's just kind of alerted me to the fact that's come back into the shops. I'll message one of the guys, they'll be like, oh yes, it's arrived, yeah, it looks great. That'll be putting that into their mind. So sometimes it's those really simple things, as well as obviously being really delicious is a really great start. And so most things, to get on the shelf, you have an excellent product really to start with. But also just the story, like it is. And I suppose we see that with the supermarkets because they're fabricating stories for products. An actual story is what's important. Just like a wee bit of love, a wee bit of attention. Tell us why you ended up doing it. We're all busy, but we all have 5 minutes for chat, be that on a phone or kind of in store. I think it's really important to try and carve out those small bits of time to look after kind of the smaller shops, because they will then talk about your product and really value looking after it, and it does make, as you know, like a big difference to the sales then.
Yeah, it's like I think I bought 350 kilos of blueberries this year, of Banner blueberries. I did that because I love Dan and Sean, and they dropped them off every time on my day off. And I let them in, and then I took orders for Ernie's as well. So Kai was this like weird blueberry hub for a couple of months. But, it's just them, and they have this sausage dog called Basil that I'm completely in love with. So it's those stories, it's just like, why does Kai sell so much Mexican beer? It's because, we all drink it. Obviously sales are great, but, it's a favourite staff beer as well. And I think that's why a small restaurant can sell so much.
Yeah.
So it's a personal stories.
Yeah. We've one more.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Caroline Boland. I'm involved with Be a Dingle Prince of Tourism Alliance. But most importantly, I'm part of the Ventry community and blessed to have Long's post office shop in where I go, and I can buy my week's groceries in the shop. And most importantly, most of it is local. Now, how lucky am I? But I think it's probably maybe not more of a question, but a statement is how important it is to have local shops like your own in our communities, where we're, supporting local producers, where you go in and find out, well, when is Murish delivering his brown bread this week, or May from Dingle Farm? But that's the thing about it, is that it's a sense of community. It's about us all being connected and supporting each other. And I think that, as I say, I'm not familiar with your own two shops, but, from Roisin and her family's point of view, we've lost other shops west of Dingle. They're disappearing as opposed to coming into our communities. And without Long's, it's the only shop now west of Dingle. But it's the quality of what you're doing. And I think that if more shops and local, communities could have more Long's and like your own businesses, our communities would be in a much stronger place, because the quality of our local produce, the safety, when you know that it's good, safe food for our kids. But I think it's the passion that you all put into it in supporting local producers, and every community should have one of you. So,
thanks, Caroline.
Oh, Caroline.
Yeah. I was going to finish with that, but actually, we do have another question here, and we'll take.
Thank you. Thanks very much. My name is Tony Maher. I'm Paradise Honey from County Clare, and unfortunately, I missed the start of your talk, but I just wanted to say that I'm really a micro producer, so I produce a very small amount of honey. But I sell to local shops, and I definitely concur with what you're saying about having a relationship with the shopkeepers, and the shops that I sell my honey to. The people that go in there, the shopkeepers promote my honey, and it's the only local honey that they sell. So I don't intend to go in competition with other honey producers. And so after a while, you build up a relationship, well, through your product with your customers, and they'll just keep coming back and looking for the same thing over and over again. And I'm just at the stage where I can't expand because I don't have enough workers, really. So I think that I'm very lucky, but I actually would say that the local people around me and around all other places that have access to locally produced products are very lucky. You know, I actually consider my customers to be very lucky that I am there producing honey for them. And the same with every other small producer of artisan products and locally produced products. People in Ireland are very lucky to have people to actually produce local produce, and people then like yourselves that promote that. So that's all I really wanted to say about it. So
Garmila.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up. And thanks for coming. It was a great chat. We all decided that we love Ireland and we love Irish food producers. So thanks so much for being just a wonderful, easy crowd to deal with.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. You've been great. Thank you. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you. And thank you to the girls.
Thank you, Kai.
Yeah.